Good evening and welcome to the Clinton Presidential Center. My name is Joyce Zakubin and it is an honor to serve as Chief of Strategy and Programs in the Little Rock offices of the Clinton Foundation. November is the Clinton Presidential Center's 20th anniversary and we are celebrating. In 2004, President Bill Clinton welcomed the world into the Clinton Center for the first time. In the 20 years since then, more than 5 million people have visited the Clinton Center to explore President Clinton's legacy, participate in educational programming, and experience our diverse array of public programs. Throughout 2024, we're celebrating 20 years of milestones and memories and highlighting the impact of the Clinton Center programs and Clinton Foundation initiatives like tonight, the Clinton Global Initiative University, or CGIU. Tonight's Clinton Presidential Center presents program From Ideas to Action, a Social Impact Forum. Tonight we'll hear from CGIU alumni and changemakers who are positively impacting their community and paving the way for the next generation of social impact. Since 2007, CGIU has built a community of students who are taking action together on pressing challenges facing their campuses, communities, and the world. Here are some fast facts about CGIU. The program is now in its 16th year, and more than 12,500 students from 160 countries in all 50 states have participated. CGIU has secured $4.8 million in funding from corporate and university partners. The real story here is the impact. The Clinton family has always believed in the power of harnessing the enthusiasm and innovation of young people to help solve some of the world's most pressing challenges. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. If you'd please take a minute to silence your cell phones, we'd appreciate it. And finally, please help me thank our wonderful Clinton Center staff and volunteers, as well as our Clinton Center ambassadors and our donors. I'm looking at you, Derek Lewis, who make programs like tonight's possible. If you'll turn your eyes to the screen, we're going to play a short video message from my colleague and friend, Regina Arrington, the CEO of Clinton Global Initiative University, who couldn't be with us this evening. And after Regina's message, I'll turn the program over to Elisa Trometer, the Managing Director of CGIU, who will moderate the program. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Regina Arrington, and I am the CEO of CGI University, and I am so excited to join you today. The Clinton Foundation has a long history of supporting entrepreneurs and changemakers. In Little Rock, we have the Clinton Presidential Center and the Clinton School of Public Service. The Clinton Presidential Center is dedicated to continuing President Clinton's lifetime commitment to advancing opportunity for everyone, instilling responsibility throughout our society, and cultivating a shared sense of community. Through events like these, the CPC brings awareness to the initiatives that are making a difference in Little Rock and celebrates the hardworking people behind those initiatives. The Clinton School of Public Service Master's Program is designed to help students become knowledgeable, effective leaders, and changemakers in their communities. The school embodies President Clinton's vision of building leadership and civic engagement. Outside of Little Rock, the Foundation's Clinton Global Initiative has created a platform and pipeline to identify, mentor, and support the next generation of entrepreneurs and innovators along their social impact entrepreneurial journey. And this is what we do at CGI University. Each year, hundreds of students receive free access to an online social impact curriculum to develop their ideas into viable concepts, learn how to confidently pitch their project, and connect with other changemakers. CGI Greenhouse supports growth stage social impact startups. Each year, 30 companies from across the globe are selected to present their work at the CGI annual meeting and connect with potential partners to accelerate their social and financial capital. And this year, we launched a brand new program, the CGI Fellowship. This is a year-round program for emerging entrepreneurs that offers dedicated mentorship, training, and support. CGI Fellows develop a CGI commitment to action, a new, specific, and measurable project or program that addresses a pressing global challenge. We are so excited to share that we've just completed selecting this year's cohort and are welcoming 25 incredible entrepreneurs and innovators into the program. We are bringing together entrepreneurs from across the globe, including countries such as Sri Lanka, Rwanda, China, Zambia, the UK, Kenya, Uganda, Jamaica, and of course here in the good old United States. Just wanted to highlight a few commitments to action for you. Ecobana provides eco-friendly sanitary solutions, eradicates period poverty, and leads menstrual health education across Africa by manufacturing and distributing biodegradable sanitary towels made from banana fibers and providing an extensive menstrual health education program. Block Carbon aims to democratize advanced carbon removal technologies in less developed regions, ensure a transparent carbon market, and foster climate cooperation between the East and the West, especially between China and the US, by leveraging the transformative power of carbon markets. Genius Education Zambia is an edtech social enterprise that develops curriculum and programming to equip Zambian learners with skills that are directly relevant to the future of work by focusing on the fourth revolution and enhancing skills in subjects such as AI, cybersecurity, big data, machine learning, quantum sciences, 3D technologies, and nanotechnologies. The Clinton Foundation has always set the stage for access to early-stage investor networks, which has driven $4.5 million in funding for CGI Ventures, most notably through CGI University. We have a 17-year track record of providing quality mentorship to emerging entrepreneurs, including more than 13,000 student innovators through CGI University. Unfortunately, I can't be with you today as I'm in Bulgaria meeting with some of CGI University's outstanding Eastern European social innovators, but I am excited about tonight's discussion with our 4 changemakers from the region. 2 of our panelists are esteemed CGI University alumni, and the other 2 panelists are leading the way in supporting and enabling budding entrepreneurs in Little Rock. It's so important we continue to recognize entrepreneurs and their support systems, as this is the path forward to democratizing entrepreneurship.
A social impact forum. So without further ado, I'm just going to run down the line and go through names, okay? So we have Aaron Stanger, Daniel Schutte, Maria Luisa Popescu. Now she is a CGIU alum 2010, and Yang Rai, CGIU alum 2013. All right, perfect. Well, again, thank you all so much for joining us this evening and coming out on a Friday night. We're going to make this a very exciting discussion. I can already tell everyone's excited and amped up here. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So let's kick off with a question on social impact, shall we? So to start off, can each of you explain how you are involved in the social impact sector and really, share how you first identified the issue in your community that you're working to address? And we can run down the line, I guess, is this first question. So Erin, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wait for this to come on. Hang tight, everybody. Oh, hello. There we go. A little bit better. Yeah, so just want to start off by saying thank you for having me here tonight. And it's great to be among our fellow panelists. It's nice to meet all of you and share the stage. So it's an honor to be here. So Aaron Stanger, I have been, for the past 10 years, I've been serving at the Innovation Hub, which is located just across the river in North Little Rock, Arkansas. And we were the first makerspace here in Arkansas, really focusing on expanding innovation and inspiring opportunities. And we do that through offering a lot of resources around STEAM education and also workforce development and teaching individuals how to use the tools and resources inside the Innovation Hub, 3D printers, laser cutters, full metal and carpentry shop, and realize that as we opened, of course, as we were beginning, that we really wanted to focus on creating a welcoming environment and giving everyone access to be able to come in and use the tools and resources at almost a very low cost. And we realized through the years, of course, we focus on K through 12 education and, of course, all ages to be able to teach these resources. But through the years, we also were realizing an issue that not everyone did have access to our building, just purely because of maybe our location or the distance for someone So we created a mobile makerspace as well to travel the state and take those resources across Arkansas, and served about 30,000 doing that. And then we also created a workforce development program that is, we'll focus on that a little bit more later tonight, but really created a program so that we could enhance skilled labor here in Arkansas in the fields of welding and HVAC, industrial operations. But I must say, and I think our bios are floating out there somewhere, I've recently stepped down from my position at the Innovation Hub as director because my time there also helped me open my eyes to another social impact area that's important to me, which is serving the chronically homeless. So I created my own nonprofit called Refuge Village, and we are building a neighborhood called Providence Park here in Central Arkansas in Pulaski County, and it is a neighborhood that provides homes, forever homes for the chronically homeless, and wraparound support services to care for those chronically homeless individuals. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So a couple hats that I'm wearing this evening, but thank you.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Daniel Schutte. I got a long title, Vice President of Special Operations and Accelerator Programs at the Venture Center. The Venture Center is a 501c3 nonprofit, similar to the Innovation Hub. We're located right on Main Street in the Little Rock Technology Park. The way we got involved in social impact, really the genesis of the Venture Center was the Chamber of Commerce in Little Rock kind of identified that, we're a great organization for helping businesses grow. And we're pretty good with traditional brick and mortar businesses, and we understand how to do that. We're not very good with technology companies. We don't have the in-house kind of expertise and resources. So rewind 10 years ago, the Venture Center became the answer to that. It was actually, I don't think that's common in the story people tell, but an offshoot of the Chamber of Commerce. And now we're a standalone sort of nonprofit. What we do as an organization, there's really kind of 3 pillars that we operate on. One is entrepreneurship programs, right, which is a broad kind of catch-all term for community engagement and teaching people that entrepreneurship is a path that you can take. And here are some resources for you, community events, bringing people together, things like that. I think over the past 2 years, we had about 15,000 people come through our doors to come to those kind of varying events like that. The second pillar, which is relatively newer, I think we've been doing it for about 3 years, is professional networks. And so the Venture Center runs 2 currently. One is, it's called Women Achieve. My colleague is here who co-runs that in the hoodie. And yeah, she's embarrassed. So that is really pairing budding female entrepreneurs with female mentors and allowing them to pick each other and work together over a period of time to really develop those relationships. One of the things that's super important for entrepreneurship is mentorships and it's networking and it's connections within the community, right? It's specifically important to find people like you who've had your struggles and your journeys as well. Another one that just launched this year is AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islanders. And so the same sort of thing there. And so we intend to kind of expand those really. We run those in Central Arkansas, but it encompasses the entire state as well. What I do and what I spend most of my time doing is working directly with kind of growth stage technology companies and helping them to scale through systematic ways. And so how we do that is through 3-month accelerator programs. We've been doing this for 10 years. We've had about 130 companies graduate from those programs. They've raised about $2.5 billion in capital. We've hired, I think, 3,500 employees globally, about 300 of those in the state of Arkansas. And so we are trying to create that economic growth. We're trying to bring and or augment the companies here or have them relocate here to create those high-paying tech jobs within the region. And that's really our sort of raison d'etre and why we exist as an organization. And in doing that, we partner with the state of Arkansas, a Fortune 500 company within a particular vertical. We started in financial technology and worked with FIS, then the ICBA. Won't be tested on the acronyms, don't worry, but they're distribution networks to financial institutions. And so we take founders of companies, put them in the same room with CEOs and C-suites of financial institutions in half-an-hour increments. They demo their product. We help them scale their product across North America. This year, we're also moving into federal procurement with the SBA as a partner for veteran-owned small businesses. And we will announce soon a partnership that we are doing with UAMS in the health tech kind of arena for SETI founders. But the same kind of principles, right? Helping companies scale the revenue with direct introductions to buyers of their product. As it turns out, that results in better products. And when companies have revenues, they can hire more people and create more jobs. And so that's what we endeavor to do at the Venture Center. Thrilled and honored to be here, like everybody else, I'm sure.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Luisa, and I'm one of the aforementioned CGIU alums that also happens to be an Eastern European CGIU alum. And I was thrilled to see the presence of the Clinton Global Initiative in Bulgaria, very close to my home country, Romania, since part of my family there is watching. So everyone here has heard of business as usual term, and we've probably gotten to the point of saturation of hearing that this is the way of business over the last decade, really. We've seen firsthand the consequences of disastrous business ideas, from PR to really mindless campaigns that are not steeped in community and what the people want. And so I developed my social impact practice after I graduated from college that is rooted in business not as usual. And this is how I introduce my social impact firm, Eclecticon Consulting, that is focused on eclectic approaches with my clients that are rooted in the communities that they serve. I am at the intersection of artificial intelligence, technology, and policy, since I have my formal background in political science and government, public policy, and business. And so companies have realized that their communication strategies have to change, especially over the last decade, especially with the incoming diversity of their clients. They realize that they have to speak differently to millennials, to Gen Zers, and they can no longer, or at least they cannot be as transparent as they were about putting profits over people. So when clients come to me, we co-create social impact campaigns. We plan, design, and implement them. I coordinate their communications. We find the words that work in collaboration with the communities they serve. I don't believe in talking down to your consumers. But I have an interesting anecdote to tell you. So when I first started CGIU in 2010, I happened to be the first and only student from my alma mater, from the University of Texas, the Dallas campus, to participate. And I was not aware of this. I happened to see the flyer on the door of my academic advisor at the time. And I thought, oh, this is great, because I was already looking at social impact and social entrepreneurship programs that would complement my academic field of study. So I applied, and I was accepted, after which I became an alumni ambassador, and I was a campus representative at first, so I did fortunately manage to bring in more students. But the conversations that I had been having at the time, this was in 2010, 2009 when I applied, was, well, how is social impact going to make any money, right? If you're not doing business the traditional route. And I said, well, what do you mean? To every person that asked me that, I said, well, if you have a business, you work with people, you serve people, they buy your products, especially B2C, right? You have employees, they are your culture, and if you design at them and not with them, you're going to lose trust, you're going to lose clients, you're going to lose the employee loyalty. And I think we've all seen this unfolding over the last decade or so. So I've been very proud to work to change that, because people power everything, and social impact should be, I always like to say that it should be a blueprint, not a footnote of doing business. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you all. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Young Rai. I'm a founder and president of Young World Foundation. I would like to give you a little bit background how I came up with my foundation. Actually, initially, it was not my intention to do the work that I'm doing it now. I was in a boarding school, so I went to this remote part of Nepal, walking 9.5 hours on my feet to establish a small library in a small government school. And that's when I got to know the horrible condition of a single woman. One day I was walking to the school with the school principal, and on the way, I came across these women. Normally, the ladies, the women in rural Nepal, they wear very colorful clothes. And this lady happened to wear a white clothes. And I quickly asked the principal, why is she wearing a white clothes? And the principal goes, you shouldn't be talking to her because she brings a misfortune to you. And that kind of got my attention. Actually, I started running after her. And then actually I stopped her and I asked her, I really need to talk to you. And she started crying. And she tells me this was her first time in a half a year that somebody approached and talked to her. That's when I realized the condition these single women are living in rural Nepal. So in Nepal, once your husband dies, your in-laws, your society actually shun you, outcast you. They seize all your property and leaves you with nothing but 3 or 4 kids. And these single women are working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and making as little as 70 cents a day. So these women have no time for their kids. They cannot afford to send their kids to school. So this creates the perpetual cycle of poverty. And I'm here, 12 years old kid, trying to establish a library in this remote area during the civil war. So at that time, I could not do anything. So this is when I decided I will do something to help the single women in rural Nepal. So in 2023, I applied to CGIU. That's where I got accepted, which I'll tell you later. So what my foundation does is we work with the single women in rural Nepal. So we help them to regain this financial independence by engaging them in revenue-generating activities such as goat farming, cow farming, tailoring, retail shops, so based on their interests, so that when they gain that financial independence, they can work on their kids, they can send their kids to school, so that way we can eradicate the poverty and the grassroots levels.
Thank you, Yang, and thank you, everyone. Switching gears just a little bit, I'd love to talk about sustainability, and more specifically, how you sustain your own initiatives. Now, Yang, I'll start with you, and then Aaron, I'll kick it over to you as well, especially with your background with workforce development. So, Yang?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So our foundation has a very, very unique working mechanism. We follow 2 key components. It's called need and adoption. So we do not go to the field with our preset or pre-designed plan. So once you identify the needs, once you identify the project beneficiary, so actually we go, sit down, and we talk to them. And we actually take their suggestion, their inputs into our consideration while making a decision. So when you do that, when you make these women who are going to be the project beneficiaries, they feel the sense of responsibility, they feel the sense of belonging and sense of respect. So when you do that, they have a commitment to your project, and they have that ensures actually the success of your project. And adoption. So what we do is, when you are working with this marginalized group of the group of women in the remote area, you need to make sure that you are getting a community behind you to ensure the success of a project. So what we do is we buy in the key components such as the stakeholders. So we partner with the local school. So what we do, we donate library book to the local schools, and the profit we generate from our project. So what we do, we provide training, we provide seed funding, but all the profits we make from that project, actually we reinvest in the community. So the entire community has a stake on the project. So if this women works hard, makes more profit, that means more money that goes to the school. So the school community is looking after these women, right? So now, these women are working 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. So they get 2 days to spend with their kids. And guess what? They are making 5 times more than their previous salary. And some of these women are paid off all their debt, and they're sending their kids to the schools. So that's how we are doing it. So we identify the need, we adopt the key constituents of the project, and that's how we, making them a part of the decision-making process is what ensures the sustainability of the project.
I love hearing about your work, so thank you for what you're doing. So glad to meet you today. So speaking a little bit about building community and focusing on that, of course, with the Skills to Launch program at the Innovation Hub, the question was talking about sustainability and how have we made this possible over the last few years. So of course, recognizing the need as well. I was watching children grow up at the Innovation Hub, and when I asked them, what are they going to do next? Of course, sometimes the answer was college, but most often it was not. And so they would say, Erin, I'm here, they're taking apart 3D printers, CNC machines, working incredible technology, but maybe they weren't good test takers. And so, college was not on their radar. So what they wanted to start doing was just start working. But the problem that we were finding as they were wanting to enter the workforce and maybe jump into these technical skills is that they didn't have the funds to pay for that technical training. So we started really dreaming, and so I want to say sustainability sometimes just begins with identifying, of course, the problem, but also taking some risk and really leaning into your community to figure out how to make this possible. So when we reached out to the state of Arkansas and different funders and said, we want to build a program where we can teach technical skills to individuals, but also develop soft skills training as well. And we want the program to be free. So that was a risk. It was like, ooh, I don't know if we can do this, but we're going to try. And so we went after, the Innovation Hub is about 90% grant funded, which is a very high percentage for a nonprofit. And so, of course, part of my role in the past there has been, okay, where are these funds coming from? So you have to stay dedicated and really focus in on building relationships in the community. Because sometimes people don't believe in what you're doing until they can really see it. So even when we began the Innovation Hub, it was like, oh, I'm not really quite sure what this makerspace concept is. And now, of course, over time, they can see the results of that. And the same is true in building the Skills to Launch program, as we, of course, took that risk to say, we want to create this program, make it free for the individuals, and provide 10 weeks of training. So how are we going to make that possible? So thankfully, many funders started saying yes. And we went to the employers and said, what type of skill sets do we need to train these individuals in so we can make sure when they graduate from this apprenticeship program that you're going to hire them? So we spent a lot of time just research and building those relationships and asking, what are you looking for to hire these individuals? Because I don't want to create a program where at the end of this, they're not going to have a job. So let's make sure that we're building in those skill sets that you're looking for so that we can make sure that when they finish, they're going to be hired. And so we have, and that's really has worked over time. We've been in, this program specifically has been in existence since the fall of 2020, and we've graduated 171 graduates with an 83% job placement rate. So it's working, which is great. So sometimes you just got to take that risk, and you've got to show those results and really keep building those relationships within your community. But I can also say that you can't do it alone. So this is not something that I can put my stamp on. So we have an incredible team of individuals, and I have found that you have to surround yourself with individuals that most likely are smarter than you, and you don't want to be in an echo chamber either. You need to challenge yourself and make sure that you're surrounded with those people as well, so they're pushing you to be your best, because most of the time in nonprofit work, you are working for a greater good. And there's some big expectations. You're setting down you're building programs that are changing lives, as we've talked about today. So there's pressure. So you want to stay on your game, and you want to be surrounded by people that'll push you as well.
Young, did you have
Yeah, I think to add to that, I think, really well put the needs and the demands, at the same time, I think the skills as well as the interest and experience of the project beneficiary, I think that also very important. Oftentimes, what I have seen where the project failed was you went to implement the project without taking their interest, their skills, the experience into the account. So if you really want your project to be sustainable, and successful, I think you gotta look into demands, need, the working model, soundness of the model, and your experience and the skills.
That plays into the part that I mentioned earlier of co-designing with your communities and your target audience in mind, where, versus the old approach of designing at them. then it becomes a collaborative process, and they become a vital part of the process. So you design for an actual need, not just what your projection is usually from a Western-centric standpoint.
True.
Well, and certainly it resonated with me when you spoke of making the program free for all of the students. We have that at CGI University every year. It's okay, we're rolling out this program. How do we ensure that we continue to provide this social impact curriculum for free for all of the students, undergrad and grad, participating? And certainly through the work of CGI University, we've seen so many partners come to the table and offer not just financial support. Of course, we've seen seed funding as small as $250 to $500 grant make the world of difference in launching their commitments to action. But it goes beyond funding. Honestly, partners that are dedicating mentor networks, resources, even staff time to talk to our students in private sessions, especially in a virtual environment. It's really opened up a realm of possibilities. And so Daniel, Aaron, I'd really like to talk about that resource bucket and just what resources are you seeing, especially with entrepreneurs that are needed in the space?
It's such a hard question, right? Because it depends upon the entrepreneur and the company and where they're at any given stage. So what we've found over time, and what we've, because rewind 10 years ago, we're doing like a curriculum-based kind of accelerator approach, right? That's what we did, and there's value in that, there is. And when you're dealing with non-homogeneous companies, often that is good to set that baseline, right, with them at the same time, and it's the best you can do when everybody's doing different things. What we'd found over time was we can work really well with companies who have a lot in common with each other, e.g. they're all selling into the same target market, right? Then you introduce them to the target market. There's a group of venture capital firms that invest in companies just like those, right? And so you go find kind of best-of-breed companies doing that. What entrepreneurs need, back to kind of what you were saying, is it's a conversation with the entrepreneur. Where are you at? What do you spend most of your time doing? What keeps you up at night? What are your competitors offering that you're not? What do you wish you had that you don't? And from there, you kind of build this hit list. And our approach at the Venture Center is to sit in the middle and be the facilitator around this. We're not the smartest guy. I am never the smartest guy in the room if there's more than one person in it. But what we have done an excellent job at, I would kind of postulate, is by just facilitating and building these networks. And specifically with social entrepreneurship, I think when I in my head define the difference between social entrepreneurship and kind of more traditional high growth, verticalized entrepreneurship, the profits, if they even come, they lag way behind, right? And so the model that we've, as a country, sort of built over time, which is throw money, grow as fast as you can, get as many contracts as you can, exit to somebody, and then we'll distribute those gains amongst ourselves, right? That doesn't necessarily work for social entrepreneurship until we value the social aspect as much as we do the revenue aspect, and we're not there yet as a country. I hope we get there. I think we're headed that way, but we're not there yet. And so we have to spend a lot of time individually with companies, working with them and making those introductions to the community. If we're dealing with like an Arkansas-specific program, then it's within the Arkansas community. It's building deep roots within that, the sort of bricolage approach, right? What is available, what is at hand, take advantage of it, use it, and leverage that as you can. We're not New York, we're not San Francisco, but they're not us either. There's things we can do here that they can't do there. You can't call the mayor, probably, in New York. I can't. Anyway, I don't know, maybe some people can, and get them on the line. You can do those things here. Everybody's 2 degrees of separation away in Arkansas. And so if you help people take advantage of that, if you make the introductions that are germane at the time, then they can go a long way with that. And so long way around to saying it is just getting them in touch with people who can be helpful to them at any given time based upon where they're at in their own trajectory as a company at any given time.
I love that emphasis on connection, networking, certainly through the Clinton Global Initiative, ecosystem. that's really all about the connection, access to mentorship and networks. Erin?
I'd also would add, as you're thinking about your answer too, and as I was thinking about mine, it is about building relationships, making those connections. Sometimes I've often felt like in my career, I'm an air traffic controller. I am just connecting people to the right, to the next person, and I love that. I love being able, and Arkansas is a very small state, as all of us know here, so we tend to have some really strong connections through here, but so it's not hard to find the help. I've realized that, of course, growing up here. But I have noticed too some other areas that I think are important for success in sustainability and just tools and resources. Is it's important to stay organized. You have got to build your systems in a succinct way so that you can analyze your data. One thing that we didn't do well when we first opened at the Innovation Hub, because we were kind of flying and driving at the same time, and I know y'all know what I mean by that. And so we weren't as organized, I think, as we could have been in the very beginning. And so just through time and work and really focusing on building a little bit better systems and being able to look at the data and really study those metrics and use that in a way to make better decisions for future growth programs and systems that we need to invest in. So I think, yes, just be mindful of that data that's coming through and like how that can carve into future decisions. But I also want to say, as you're growing in entrepreneurship and especially working in social impact, it's also really important to take care of yourself as an entrepreneur. So my husband and dad are in the audience tonight, and they know I run at about 200 miles an hour. And so they often have to slow me down, and especially my husband, I always say I married my stop sign, which is a very good thing. And so you have to remember to take care of yourself and be able to take a moment and really build in that white space into your schedule. And I'm here to say I have not figured it out all the way, but I'm getting better with time. But I also want to encourage that, especially in this type of work, but those of you entrepreneurs in the room running your own companies, you have to remember to take care of yourself. It's something that you noticed that wasn't happening probably as you were building your foundation. So I really nod your effort in that and just making sure that you are remembering to take care of you so that you can take care of others around you better.
Thank you. Young?
Yeah, I think I also like to add, I think believing in yourself, the conviction. I also started a couple of companies. So if you don't believe in yourself, you're gonna run into a lot of people, they're gonna question. So if you don't believe in yourself, then you're gonna deviate from what your goal was. So you gotta believe in yourself. And it's okay, it's good, one got to be able to take the criticism, but you should not take that as a face value and give up on your goals. So you got to believe in yourself.
To that, I wanted to add the more experimental angle. So you're not going to make a splash unless and until you jump in. And so if you're going by the questions of self-sabotage and going by, well, am I the right person to do this? Should I do this? Which I think is something that all entrepreneurs have wondered at some point. Just know that there's a billion other horrible ideas out there, and the phenomenon of failing up that is very well known in traditional business, and you have to try things, and you will not know until you try. And if something fails by your definition, then you can learn from it, and you always have a community of people to lean on. And I was waiting for you, Alyssa, to go into the question of complementary communities and to talk about other aligned social innovation fellowships. So if I may, I can dive into that.
Absolutely. And young Maria Luisa, specifically from the CGI University ecosystem, what supports, resources did you have access to, if you can think back to 2010 and 2013 as well?
Yeah, so pretty much a vast majority of my most trusted friends and advisors and part of my community have been from CGIU, 2010, 2011. Some of them have come and worked for the foundation. They're in the pictures there, and I was very happy to see them. We have mini reunions, and we support each other. We message each other all the time. So community is vital to this, and this is what CGIU has done. It's built this community so that budding social impact entrepreneurs are not feeling like they have to do it all alone. Like they don't feel like, oh, I don't have the right program at my school. I can find the right master's program, which was something that I was grappling with at the time. But CGIU has been a lifeline into the social impact sphere, and we did formalize a curriculum. So when I did the program, it was just a 3-day conference, and then we would all go back to our communities, to our universities, and then we would not reunite until the next few editions when we would become commitment mentors and so on. But now it's a year-round initiative, and we have a fantastic social impact curriculum that is essentially what it's a hybrid of what business schools teach, but applied to social impact. So for the students that are not specifically studying business, the curriculum is a great resource for them. We have mentorship, and I was a commitment mentor as well in the social impact of technology. We have office hours. We have events that are digital year-round. We also have opportunities to come to the offices, and we just started this back up after the pandemic, but it's a fantastic community, and no person is an island, specifically in the social impact spheres. I know that we had historically there was the myth of the lone social impact entrepreneur in the early 2000s, and since then the field has evolved to be much more networked and much more in communities of practice. There are also other cohorts that are doing very similar work, and I found overlapping members. So for example, Starting Block is another one, and we are now working in partnership with the University of Pennsylvania Social Impact Center. I'm actually going in 3 weeks to the accelerator there, which is the first of its kind in collaboration with Starting Block. And I did find, actually my roommate is a CGIU alum and former mentor as well. So I feel like wherever I go, I find CGIU alums, and I found more of them at the Starting Block in 2019 in New York City. So it's drawn us together, and these communities are also working in complementarity, and it's fantastic to see because again, we're not no person is an island. Well, I am because we are.
Yeah, to build up on that, I would like to give a big shout out to CGIU and Resolution Project for partnering in 2013. That's when I got a CGI fellowship and seed funding from Resolution Project, and I became their fellows. And so seed funding from Resolution Project was very important to start my foundations. But even more important was like ongoing this mentorship, the encouragement and help I get in daily basis. And it has helped me in, both in professional as well in personal level in terms of the growth. And they are helping me every day. So basically, like CGI is providing this platform, forming these partnerships to help us to grow, in a personal level, in a professional level. I mean, what else can we ask for it? So I think this connection from the partners, like a CGI community, half of my Facebook friends and LinkedIn, connections are from CGI. So it's a fantastic, like sometimes I am running into some kind of problem with a project and there are CGI fellows doing the same kind of work and has an experience of failing and how they, overcame that problem. So it's a connection, it's a community. So we have created a community of the world, like, it's the global community. So anywhere you go around the world, there is a CGI alum. So the CGI has created a community of the world. So that's networking is so important. And then every time I travel and I reach out to my fellows, and then we meet for coffee. So that's the networking.
Well, and I love, Maria Louisa, you mentioned we're not on an island, and Yang talks about the seed funding. And as you both were talking, I took note, we have a university network ecosystem of universities around the world that provide seed funding to our entrepreneurs. And Chess Talley from Jarvis Christian walked in the room, and it really, just is proof that it's such a community, and Chess has given so much in seed funding to students over the years at Jarvis Christian, and so it kind of connected, and I made eye contact with Chess. So Chess, thanks for joining us tonight. family community is ever present. But we also see that so many entrepreneurs face a ton of hurdles. And Daniel, I feel like you have probably seen this time and time again. And so love to just hear from you. And I understand it's probably not a one-size-fits-all answer, but just, in today's, time, what are really the most common hurdles that budding entrepreneurs are facing?
The most common ones, I think several people touched upon, right? Like everyone tells you no. Everyone tells you how bad an idea is. And one thing I'd ask this audience to remember is that every great idea sounds like a terrible idea the first time you hear it. That's kind of by definition, right? It's Paul Graham. Access to capital, people are gonna say, I find that of course that's an issue. Of course it's not equitable. Of course it's not equal for everyone. And we all need to work on that, and people are. And just tabling that for a second, that's also symptomatic usually of issues within the business itself. And so if people have, there's different stages, right? So there's the base sort of getting the business ready to talk about capital. There's the understanding what your market is and fitting into the market. There's meeting people within the network and scaling the business. And depending on where you're at, these will be kind of the problems. But unilaterally, across every founder I've worked with over the past 10 years, and myself, having done it before, it is, they say it's lonely at the top, but it's really lonely building a business along the way too. Again, everyone tells you no. The people you love tell you it's a bad idea. Man, maybe you've done it, like we love that you tried it, but you've been at it a while and maybe it's time to try something else, right? It is, you're constantly in the woods, you're constantly chopping trees, you're never sharpening the saw along the way. You never take a step out and look at what you're doing. And we all need to be kind of more cognizant and aware of that and sort of just kind of a check-in, right? Like, how are you doing really? How's it going? It's like the cohort approach that CGI takes, and we do as well. It's shocking how often people just stick around after a session and talk to each other because they can't talk to anybody else about it. If you're not running a company, if you're not starting a company, then you kind of don't get it at the same time. And people love you. You talk to them. I'll tell you right now, my wife doesn't care at all about what I'm doing at work. I'm going to go home and tell her if I'm starting a business, if I have a new initiative, she doesn't want to hear about it. She says, leave work at work, do that. And you kind of get trained on that, right? And so if you're applying, like the real hurdles for entrepreneurs, I think are those. I think it's that there is no support system really unless you intentionally build it and unless people around you help you intentionally build it for yourself. I think that's the best answer I can give on that.
And certainly, as Regina mentioned at the top, finishing up our CGI fellowship interviews, when we asked, what interested you in this fellowship, everyone talked about the networks and connections with folks and just finding that like community. And Maria Luisa, you have been in the social impact space for over a decade. So really just curious, specifically from you, growing up kind of in this world, how has it changed over the years?
Yeah, so I was aware that social entrepreneurship was really not new. People treated it in general in mainstream business here like it was new, but it has existed around the world for millennia, really. Like we're thinking, mutual aid societies, communities that provided for others in their tribe. It's always existed, for as long as, like, far beyond millennia. But formalizing it into an interdisciplinary field of study, I mean, it's been around for decades. I alluded earlier to the concept of the lone wolf social entrepreneur of the earlier 2000s in literature, in the social entrepreneurship literature, which is kind of a myth because that's not happening in business. You never have one person building by themselves. They're always building with others or on the backs of others. It's just a fact. Nobody's building something from scratch by themselves. And so the sphere has formalized more in conjunction with other disciplines, with psychology, sociology, political science, political economy, traditional business schools. So Stanford was kind of a pioneer in formalizing an MBA program with a social entrepreneurship, with a social impact lens in 2008, and others follow suit. And then we've seen master's programs popping up in a master's of social entrepreneurship specifically. And actually, one of our staffers at the Clinton Foundation, Megan Strother, like she actually went to University of Southern California as full master of social entrepreneurship. So they also hosted our social innovation starting block fellowship back in 2019 there, and that's how I found out about these programs too. So it has formalized more a lot for the mainstream, and more businesses started realizing that it should be a strand that is as vital as the other traditional, you know, business focuses. And it's exciting to see what has been happening. People that have been ahead of the curve on minding the social impact of their businesses have been on top, and they have been responsible. They developed responsible communications. They've avoided PR disasters. They've avoided unintended consequences, and more businesses realized, okay, we actually need to start thinking more about this. You know, if we're a technology company, maybe it's a good idea to involve the social sciences to work in conjunction with designers. And we've seen this, that reflected itself in, for example, in other organizations that are technology adjacent, but they focus on the social impact. So Center for Humane Technology would be one of them, for example. And I did work with them on launching an interdisciplinary course on this matter that we targeted to tech executives, coders that did not necessarily think of these things or get the opportunity to. So it's been exciting to see it more and more steeped into formal business this way, and having more people think of it as, you know, as a common sense way to do business without thinking of it afterwards, because it's way costlier for a business in every possible, you know, sense of the word to fix these problems afterwards. You know, so to them I would say, you know, get more social science trained individuals in your teams to co-design, to anticipate these challenges beforehand, and you're going to save a lot of money and reputational costs as well.
Thank you, Maria Luisa. And Daniel, Aaron, in current sort of trends within, you know, the entrepreneurial space, really what type of innovations are you seeing, I mean, within the last year coming to the forefront?
So, you know, it's a great question, and it's really fresh on my mind. So last week, I was with Microsoft the entire week in Atlanta, and they're one of the funders for the Skills Launch program at the Innovation Hub. And wow, AI. So I know we all know it's here. We've mentioned it earlier tonight, but oh my gosh, AI and automation is here, and really sitting in that, understanding it, utilizing it to the best of your ability for your business. You know, I think it's something we really need to focus on and think about, whether you like it or not, right? It's here and present. So I'm definitely seeing that emerge really heavy, especially in this last year. But I also was thinking about something that's happened kind of over the past 3 years or so, or really since COVID has come and hopefully gone, is that this remote work aspect and trying to communicate well and lead teams in this remote setting, and really watching leaders try to build a cohesiveness in their team remotely is change that I've seen. So of course we didn't really think about remote work prior to COVID, and then all of a sudden we were thrown into it. And so I've really watched and seen some leaders do a really good job of being able to continue to lead their team remotely and keep them connected and stayed on focus. But then I've also seen others that have just not been able to handle that really well. Like there's been some mission drift and some things. And so I think it's important for us to recognize even technology in that sense. We all had to learn how to communicate through some type of platform. Some of us can do Zoom, some of us can do Teams, some of us can do, you know, I can list them all, and there's a few of you that might feel comfortable in all of them, but some of you kind of lean into one more than the other. But when you're a leader and you're sitting, especially in and where we are today with social impact and all the type of different works that we're doing, you've got to be able to effectively communicate and use those systems and really continue to build that team camaraderie and keep your mission going strong. So I think that's going to stay with us from now on. So I think that's important to think about and looking at trends and focus areas.
Yeah, like AI is super real at this point. I don't think it's quite Skynet yet, and I don't think we're quite close to that. But what I do think it will do is lower technical barriers to entry even further. That will not lower barriers to entry wholesale into market, into starting a company, into getting funding, into all these things. In fact, what I think it will do is make more pronounced the socioeconomic, cultural barriers that are already there right now. And so the tool, well, I mean, those are the tools, right? The AI and what was the question? I'm sorry.
The emerging trends.
Oh, the trends. Yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about.
Within the last year, and Aaron already nailed Gen AI. So.
Yeah. We do see encouraging signs too. So most companies that are like, even if they're high-tech, like scalable venture companies, which are the kind we traditionally work with, right, to create the jobs, they would always have like a footnote in there about how what they're doing is going to change the world in some way, to probably make it more attractive to West and East Coast investors, and to be totally honest about it. We're seeing those become closer together now, right, where people they do now have the ability and the desire to do things from a socioeconomic impact kind of status, and they're starting to blend that with capitalism. I'm kind of procedurally pragmatic, but long-term I'm very optimistic about things too. And I believe that neo-capitalism will be the blend of all the things we're talking about, right? Social business and business. Once the information freely flows across everything and people understand what they're voting for with their wallets, then I think they'll make the right decisions and vote. Right now, the information is not really out there. And so as technology emerges and becomes more easily accessible and more ubiquitous across things, even more than it is today, we will, I believe, at some point in the future, have free flow of information across everything, and so you can see what your dollar is actually supporting when you buy something along the way and where that goes and what that means. The other thing, the rise of technology and the lower the technical boundaries will be, you'll see people, and like you guys and everyone else at CGI, I'm sure, solving the problems that they see, that they know. When the technical prowess is no longer the issue, then we're going to have technical founders who may not be technical in nature that are solving problems that they experienced. We're not going to rely, and we can't rely, great institutions are solving a lot of problems, but people from MIT, people from Stanford are not going to solve all the problems in the Delta because they're not from there. They don't understand it. They can say what it looks like from the outside looking in, and that's not, I mean, of course there are exceptions, right? But we see people trying to solve these big, huge, hairy problems that have not experienced them on the other side. And so I'm encouraged that as these tools come up, and they're getting pretty good, like you can code an entire app now with knowing very little about it. I think we'll see sort of things that are now like delivered in the way they need to be delivered to the community they're going to reach by the people who know how to solve the problems because they understand intimately what the problem is. And so that's the largest, I think, trend that I'm super excited about is that.
Love that focus on the local knowledge. And Young, do you?
Can I just add to that? I just like to share like my experience on that, some problems cannot be solved from like different perspectives. So one of my first pilot project was cash crop production. So once we started growing a lot of vegetables, before we started our project, we didn't have a monkey problem. So once we started producing these vegetables, the monkeys were drawn into it. So they were destroying our crops. So I reached out to my mentors who are based in New York, Boston area. So we thought of building a big fence so monkey cannot climb, but that did not fly through, right? So we came up with all kind of plans, nothing worked out, and guess what? At the end of the day, the biggest problem that we are facing was solved by what we did was we inserted the hard chili pepper, the hottest chili, inside the banana, and we put it in a different area in the field, and monkey ate those bananas, and they never came back to the field. So sometimes, like, problems that local problems cannot be solved like, using if you don't have any experience. So that's what I wanted to add onto, the statement as well.
Thank you, Yang. And really, I love, kind of the wrapping up with this thought of honestly the next generation and even emerging entrepreneurs. And so when we started this session, I thought to myself, it's a Friday night. The world is heavy. This week's been heavy. And I wanted to leave you all with a gift. So we have been reviewing applications for CGI University as well as the fellowship over the last few months. And I've had the privilege of reading hundreds of applications that have come through and commitments to action. And last year we graduated our CGI University class of 2023. And every night before I close my laptop, I work remotely from Houston. I pull up a few commitments to action from current students, so from our 2023 cohort. And it's just a wonderful reminder in wrapping up the evening that the world's gonna be okay. There's a rising generation, and it gives me honestly hope. So for this evening, I wanted to close by welcoming one of our most incredible CGI University 2023 students to the stage. And I say student, she's now an alum, so we welcomed her to the alumni community at the end of the year to talk a little bit about her commitment to action. So Amelia Southern Uribe, I'd love to welcome you to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Hello, my name is Amelia Southern Uribe. I'm from the CGIU class of 2023 and now a proud alumni. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, but I spent the last 10 years of my life in Arkansas, and now I'm attending the University of Arkansas. In 2010, my life, landscape, and community changed because of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. From the oil-covered beaches to the proximity to toxic waste, the oil spill affected my Latine and neighboring communities. After the spill, I joined hands with my neighbors and we rebuilt. At just 7 years old, I was riddled with climate anxiety and grief. Yet moving to Arkansas, I realized there was a lack of conversation, and those complicated feelings about environmental issues just seemed to grow. And even more so, a lack of action around environmental injustice. As I got older, it seemed the environment became more and more political. We faced a public health crisis, a global reckoning around race and colonization, political warfare, and a United States that has never felt more divided. I kept wondering, how do we work together? My commitment to action, Roots Magazine, which some of you are holding now, it's so cool to see, disseminates collected regional and generational environmental knowledge to create equitable climate education while uplifting marginalized voices, particularly those in the South. We amplify their voices and narratives in the environmental movement while providing free art supplies to translate their stories into mediums such as art, recipes, essays, and music. Roots helps generate conversations and solutions to environmental problems while addressing Arkansas's very low rankings in education. Due to the long history of challenges presented to marginalized students, it's important to create educational and fun opportunities. Southern classrooms are increasingly under attack. Now more than ever, we need informal and engaging education to generate collective action. If we begin to solve these issues in the South, we can lead the way for others. Within its pilot year, I raised over $7,500 to distribute 450 copies across Arkansas, publish and compensate 40 artists, host 14 events, and supply over 550 people with free art materials. In the past year, I've led our team to expand from a 4-person staff to 20, working with students to create a space to explore solutions through our Collage for the Climate series, served as a reminder about how our environment shapes us. Students shared stories about having a lack of water, food insecurity, and climate anxiety. Roots itself is not just about engaging the next generation, but equipping them with vocabulary to talk about complicated issues and spark creativity to take action. In our latest survey, we found Roots is generating change. Before reading the magazine, 55% had a moderate awareness of climate change. This awareness increased significantly after reading Roots, with 91% reporting high to very high awareness. Additionally, 87% of our readers reported they felt inspired to take political and environmental action in their local community. Roots' growth is a reflection of the original commitment I made just a year ago. Roots' reach and impact would have not been possible without CGIU's global network and extraordinary support. CGIU helped me hone in my skills in networking and fundraising, which was crucial to creating spaces that depolarize climate change. I'm honored to give back to this community and be alongside amazing panelists that has given me so much. With CGIU, I finally answered that question. How do we work together? We can work together if we listen to each other, share stories, generational knowledge, and beyond. We find strength and beauty in the bonds of community. It is my firm belief that to preserve any possibility of a future, any future at all, we must begin to reimagine human society and our relationships with ourselves and nature. I invite you to grab a copy of Roots if you haven't already and flip through the intimate work and art of students while reflecting on your own story. How do you connect with your community? Thank you so much.
And so last night I got back to my hotel room, and I live in Houston, of course, had missed some alerts from my husband that he was in a shelter position with a tornado that touched down in our neighborhood with our 18-month-old baby. And I was thinking of, here I am, a parent, and how do you talk to youth about climate change, climate anxiety? And Amelia, I thought back to your commitment and honestly read through your work and Roots. So if you all haven't taken a magazine, please do. And again, it just instilled me with this true belief of there are people out there who are going to, really engage a younger generation in tough topics, but ones that are so timely and necessary for discussion. So Amelia, thank you so much for sharing your story. Snag her after the session if you can to have a chat. So I just want to thank everyone for this evening. Thank you all so much for coming out. If you're heading to 42 Bar and Table for a bite to eat, enjoy. We've heard tonight really how identifying social problems requires such a deep understanding of the root causes and active engagement with the community. Our panelists, Amelia, you've really demonstrated deep research, but also empathy, and really showed that these are the cornerstones for social change. We've also learned about the importance of developing sustainable and innovative business models, and it's clear for an idea to truly make a difference, it must be financially viable and scalable. So we touched on the inevitable seed funding topic as well. Our speakers have shown us that innovation, when combined with sustainability, can really lead to profound and lasting impacts. Support budding entrepreneurs is another critical theme that arises tonight. Access to the right tools, resources, mentorship can significantly influence the success of new impact initiatives. And as we conclude in the theme of CGI, we always like to challenge our audience members really with a few calls to action. So I'm going to do that now. I hope your ears are perking up. First, engage with your community. Take the time to understand the unique challenges and opportunities around you. Your next big idea might be right in your own backyard. Second, collaborate and network. Build connections with like-minded individuals and organizations that can amplify your impact. And finally, leverage resources. Utilize the support provided by platforms like CGI University or the CGI Fellowship, other opportunities in your local community that will offer invaluable access to different networks. So tonight's discussion not only inspired us, but also equipped us with practical strategies to turn our ideas into impactful action. Remember, social impact is a journey that requires perseverance, adaptability, and continuous innovation. Thank you once again to all of our panelists and to Amelia for your time and insights, and thank you all for participating in this evening's events. Let's continue the conversation, support one another, and strive to make a difference in our communities. Thank you all so much.